Hello, everybody. Happy first day of school. I hope that if you had little ones to drop off, that you had enough Kleenex for all their tears, or maybe they just ran away from you and traded you in for a friend. I'm going to be providing you with some training today about Teams, Microsoft Teams, and how that connects to SharePoint. And I'm trying to get Microsoft to play nicely with me for PowerPoint sharing, but it is not. Aha, there we go. Okay. Can you see my screen?
I can, yes.
Okay, hopefully everyone else can as well. So thanks for attending today. I'm the technical writer on the customer services team, and this training is a little bit longer than I intended. So if you want me to stop at any point and finish up as a part 2 later on, just put any thoughts that you're having in the chat. If you have questions as we go, put those thoughts in the chat, and we'll just see how it goes. I'm going to talk to you today about some structural aspects of Microsoft Teams, how Teams compares and communicates with Microsoft SharePoint. And our agenda is right here. As a member of the WISE community, you are a guest member to this Microsoft Teams group. And it's easier to say a Teams group than a Teams team because it's a little bit redundant. But if you're not a member of if you're not a member of the WISE community, I did put something in the chat earlier on that with a link to give you instructions on how to join. And then keep in mind that there is a bit of a timing issue, that it's not as instant as somebody sharing a Google Doc link. So there might be anything from a 10-minute wait to a 1-week wait with the way that we have our system set up to add new users and the access that you can get right away. So that will be something we'll go into a little bit. I'm going to start by talking about notification settings on Teams, and that we have a file available for you in the WISE Community Teams files. The first line here on this slide is hyperlinked, and so you can access that whenever you need to. This document has been around the longest of any of the documents that we've made and saved into the Microsoft Teams files, probably about April of 2024, when the WISE community was still pretty new. I apologize if this information is redundant for you, but I will also show you closer to the end of the training where this document lives on the Teams/SharePoint drive. The steps themselves to setting your notifications are not that tricky. I'm sure that you all know how to adjust your settings on your phone, on your TV, on your own personal laptop, your work laptop, what have you. But this is just a matter of showing you exactly where to go. So the previous slide had the text or verbal information, and so this is more of the visual learning, which hopefully between these two slides, you'll be able to figure out where to go to change your settings. You're going to start by looking in that upper right-hand corner of the Teams screen near where your avatar is. Your avatar might just look like your initials. It might be a photo. This screenshot example has a smiley face icon, and adjacent to the smiley face icon is these 3 horizontal dots, which we call the More menu. The one that you want to click is indicated by a red box. There are also 2 other More menus on any given Teams screen, and those are indicated by red circles. So you'll see another one in the upper right-hand corner, like kind of by the X and the minimize and the maximize buttons. And then there's another one on the left side panel. It's kind of like a navigation panel. So the one that you want to indicate or to set your specific settings is going to be the one by your avatar. When you click that More menu, a drop-down menu will appear, and you're going to want to click Settings, which has the gear icon, and then your screen will change to the Settings screen. And the screenshot on this slide is supposed to represent that. It looks a little bit goofy because the left side panel is not as long. The settings screen is a scrolling screen. So I just took a scrolling screenshot, and that's why the screen looks like it's this funky L-shaped. But once you're on the settings screen, you'll see that the navigation panel on the left has a bunch of options. And then as you would scroll down that settings screen, you would see all of the different options. So you could start with general and go through each of the items in that submenu. If you are looking specifically for like notifications and activity, that's the one that you're going to want to use for that. It's actually called activity, I think, and notifications. And then there's another one underneath it that you might want to pay close attention to, and that is the appearance and accessibility. So if you have a specific format that you would need for your vision, if you use dark mode, you'll notice my screenshots are white text on a black screen. I use dark mode because if I don't, I get goofy migraines. Those are probably the two most important, but there's other really interesting screens on the settings that you can choose, like language interpretation, and if you want to use closed captions or transcripts. So that's where you would go to set your settings for Teams. When your settings are all taken care of the way that you want them to be, you're going to want to get back to your main screen by clicking the back button, which is kind of on the left side of the search bar, or you could click the Teams icon in the far left corner, or you could also click on the Teams button in that left side icon panel. So that's where your notifications live. Another aspect of Teams is you setting your profile and your pronouns. So to do that, you're going to start in a similar way. You're going to go to that More menu next to your avatar or your initials. You might not have like a photo. You might not be able to change it to a photo, since everyone in the WISE community that accesses this training is an external member. There's going to be limitations on how you can access the DPI Teams platform, just because there's different rules for internal users and external users. So if you have any issues setting your pronouns and they're not reflecting your identity accurately, please send us a help ticket and we can help you adjust those pronouns, because we want you to feel represented and safe in how you are reflected in our WISE community. So once you have your profile card opened from your avatar settings, you're going to click this little button that's right underneath your name, and it will say plus pronouns. And so Teams can only accept, or excuse me, Microsoft as a whole can only accept pronouns in the English language. So as long as it's a combination of she, her, he, him, or they, those pronouns will be available to you in whatever order you see fit. And then don't forget to click save so that they can be applied to your Teams profile. Another aspect of Teams that we're going to talk about today is the difference between channels and chats. And it's a little bit of a rubber baby buggy bumpers situation, so I'll apologize in advance for how many times I'm going to say the words channels and chats in the next 5 minutes. Each team is equipped with channels, and channels are like different ways to focus a conversation, because a topic of a Teams group might be rather large. For example, we have another Teams group that's dedicated to our annual WISE Data Conference. Well, there's a lot of different parts to the WISE Data Conference. There's the venues, there's the sessions, there's presenters. And so each of those topics underneath that umbrella topic has a channel. When you type something in a channel, that is called a post. And a post is visible to all members of the Microsoft Teams group. So right now we have around 600, over 600 Microsoft, oh my goodness, we have over 600 WISE community members on the WISE community Teams group. So if you post something, everybody can see that. 600 plus people can see that. The other way to communicate on Teams is with a chat, and that's much more like texting, and it's private, but notice that the word private is in parentheses. So there's parts that are private and parts that are not. This screen is showing you what a post looks like. So this is a standard screenshot of the Microsoft Teams platform where you have that icon panel on the far left, you have the navigation panel in the middle left, and then the right 2/3 of the screen is where you're going to see the activity. So the major 2/3 portion of this screenshot is showing you where the activity is. We're showing you that this is the WISE Community Teams group, and in that Teams group, we're on the general channel. And then you can see next to the general panel that's above the smiley face with the glasses on, that there's posts, and then there's files, and posts has a little purple underline. So that's what we're looking at is the posts. The smiley face icon represents a friendly DPI staff member who created a post on Act 20 screener on August 19th. And then underneath that, you can see that there's a thumbs up. You can react with emojis to a post if you want to. You don't need to feel obligated to do that, but it's nice for us as DPI members who make those posts because it lets us know that someone's reading them. And then underneath that is a response from an anonymous WISE community member. And you can tell that because their avatar is different than a DPI member's avatar, and they were asking a question about the post. And then you, as a user, as a member of the WISE community, you will kind of always have your own little avatar underneath the latest post, kind of waiting at the ready, just like that popsicle that gets lost in the back of the freezer at the end of summer that is waiting for somebody to find it so that it can be eaten before it turns into sludge. Your post marker is always there, and you can reply to a post or you can start a new post, as indicated by that purple button at the very bottom. So this is how you would read a post or create a post, and then posts can be made on any of the channels that you would see listed in that navigation panel underneath the main WISE community logo. I'm going to take a brief drink of water. Okay, this is a different screenshot. If you notice again on that far left icon panel that there's a square highlighting that this is the chat screen. Chats are a little bit different than posts. Because they can be associated with meetings, they can be sent to an individual. You can chat with yourself, you can chat to a friend, you can chat to multiple friends. So like if you know that there's people in neighboring LEAs that use a similar sys vendor, you could maybe make your own private chat for people with that sys vendor, and then you can ask questions specific to Power School or Skyward or Infinite Campus or what have you. And then people can respond because they're using that same platform, and that's a pretty handy thing. You can do all kinds of things with your chats. It's a pretty versatile screen. You can pin a chat. You might notice that on that middle panel that I have two chats that are pinned. One of them is the chat that the customer services team uses regularly, daily. That's how we log into work and say, hi, I'm here, or whoops, I have a dentist appointment, I'm leaving right now, or whatever. And then the other chat that I have pinned is a chat to myself. And this, I kind of use it like a digital post-it note. Kind of handy. And then all of my other chats are listed just in a gigantic scrolling list from most recent on top to least recent on the bottom. I can mark a chat as unread. I can pop it out into a new window. I can pin it. I can mute it. I can ask the chat to notify me when the person I'm chatting with is available, if they're not available at the moment. And I can hide a chat. The one thing I cannot do with the chat is delete a chat. And that is because DPI is subject to public records request laws. This set of laws applies to every post that is made within our WISE Community Teams channel and every chat. So we do encourage you to communicate on the platform, but we caution you to stay on topic or on message, however you want to work that. Try not to get off on tangents. Remember that this is a professional platform and that it's a shared platform and that it's a platform that is being hosted by a state government agency. So try not to gossip with that water cooler stuff on the Teams community, the WISE community. So again, this slide just kind of covers everything that I've mentioned and made visible on the 2 screenshot slides. Don't think I missed anything. So I'll move on here. There are 5 separate channels on our WISE community. The general channel is the one that I've been featuring so far. We ask that DPR staff are the only members that make posts on here, and we welcome our members to reply to a chat. But if you want to make your own chat, basically ask us a question, then we would ask that you would make that more topic centered and place it on one of the 4 non-general chats. The first one is the Civil Rights Data Collection Focused Channel, or CRDC. Members would create posts and DPI staff would apply unless we have a topic that is specific to the CDRC, and then DPI staff can also post. There's one for WISE Dash that includes public portal and WISE Dash for districts. We have one for WISE Data, and I would go ahead and lump WISE ID questions on there too. I know earlier, not earlier this week, this is the earliest day for this week, but probably middle to the end of last week, there were some issues with WISE ID. And so that would have been the perfect channel to post questions about, hey, I can't make a new WISE ID like I normally do, what's up? And then we also have one for the WISE staff collection. So those are the channels that are available. And again, each of those channels will have posts, but chats can be about anything and they don't have to be specific to a channel. 2, did I just skip one? I did. All right, so if you are wanting to set notifications and activity, you can do that specific to each of the channels. So if you are the person in your agency that deals with civil rights data collection, you're going to want to make sure that your notifications and activity are on for that channel. But if you don't pay attention to any of the other topics, you can quiet those channels so that your computer isn't beeping and squeaking at you all day long and interrupting your flow. Slide 16 gives you the verbal directions on how to do that. And you're going to want to make sure that you save. There's not always a save button. So if you see the purple save button, make sure you click it. Otherwise, those settings won't apply. And then slide 17 here goes through those same steps in a visual platform. So I'm going to start with the image on the left, and you'll notice that now I'm in that navigation panel and I'm clicking the More menu specific to the general channel. So there's a little number 1 indicated there. I'm going to click that More menu. Then I'm going to go to the channel notifications, which has a little bell icon by it. Once I click that channel notifications, a pop-up window is going to show up. And then you have all kinds of options there. You can include when somebody replies to a message, if somebody messages you specifically, there's just a whole series. You can scroll through all of the notification settings, pick what you want. The difference between banner and feed is that this purple image here with the smiley face wearing the sunglasses, this is a banner indicator, and that means that it's just going to pop up. Mine pops up in the lower left-hand corner of my screen, and it like hovers over whatever is there for a few seconds. So that's what it'll do if you select banner and feed. You can see the banner and feed in the smallest black screenshot in the lower left corner, lower right corner, has a check mark. And so whatever one you click will have the check mark, and that's what it will do. Otherwise, if it's only in the feed, then that's where it's going to appear much like it would here on your chat screen. Nope, sorry, here on the on the activity screen. So if you don't want that little banner to pop up, that's something that you can try. Maybe you like the banner, maybe you don't like the banner. I just realized today I can change the sound for them. So there's all kinds of things that you can do for accessibility and preferences. Don't forget to save. If you maybe you adjusted your settings and you're still not receiving the messages that you want, make sure that your computer system setting is agreeing with your Microsoft Teams application settings. Make sure that your volume is up. I have experienced that. I'm like, I'm not getting any notifications. And that's because I had my headset plugged in and I wasn't wearing my headset, so I couldn't hear any of my beeps and squeaks that I needed to. Sometimes we're just a victim of humanity, aren't we? Otherwise, we just kind of went through how to change the activity settings. So you might want to try adjusting them, toggling on and off for different features to make sure that the way that Teams is notifying you is appropriate to what works for your brain and your eyes. Okay, we're in the home stretch here, folks. The last section of our Teams training today is covering how Teams and SharePoint really integrate well together. Kind of the whole Microsoft Office 365, which is what I'm referencing anytime there's this MSO 365, that's just the Microsoft Office suite. They're doing a really nice job of integrating their applications so that, you know, like I can open a PowerPoint within Teams, or I can open it as a browser, or I can open it as a desktop application. And so they're really trying to like weave the integration of one application into the others. And this works especially true for Teams and SharePoint. SharePoint is like a Google Drive. Specifically, SharePoint is like a shared Google Drive or a team Google Drive. So if you're on a continuous improvement team, that group of people might have their own Google Drive. That group of people could have their own SharePoint drive. Any team that you are a member of on Microsoft will have a SharePoint associated with it. In our WISE community team group, the only channel that you will find files or folders or documents living under is the general channel. If you go to the other channels, you'll see an option for files. Like if you're looking, so there's two screenshots on the slide. The one on the left is got the black screen. And you'll notice that there's the WISE community icon, then there's the word general, and then posts is kind of a dollar color, and then files is a bright white, and it has the purple underline. So the files will be there on all 5 of the WISE community channels, but there won't be anything there. It's just an inherently built-in structure so that people have options, right? Americans like options, people like options. The image on the right, which has the standard screen with the black text on a white screen, this is SharePoint. And so you can see that they look almost identical. They have the same icons, they have the same listings. So a SharePoint drive and the Teams files should be identical. And I can demo that for you if you like. Sometimes it's easier to see it live. Let me know if that's what you want, but I'm getting close to the end here and I don't want to keep droning on. If you have questions that you need to get to. Whoopsie, sorry. So what happens when you can't access our WISE community? That's probably what you most want to know. This is something that we learned just last week, or maybe a week or so ago. And the problem was that a person was added as a guest member to the WISE community Teams group, but they ran into an error message that said, looks like the team or channel you're looking for does not exist. Please contact the team owner or try again later. And you'll notice on the screenshot that the guest user initials AR had 2 options. One of them is highlighted here in yellow, and that one is the DPI production guest platform or account. And the other one was a private or more business related account, which was probably associated to their school email address. So if you're coming across this message, the way to troubleshoot it is by selecting the DPI production guest account. If you can't log in or see updates in the Teams chat or postings, a simpler solution follows that one, and you might just need to try clearing your cache and cookies on your browser. Pardon me. There's also a Microsoft help document posted here. I have found also that no matter what browser you're using, if you use Chrome or Edge or whatever, doing a simple browser search for, how do I access blah, blah in Teams, the Microsoft help pages are actually very helpful. So I would highly recommend using those if you haven't yet. Other common things that we receive help tickets on for troubleshooting WISE community is that you can read the posts, you can create posts, you can chat, but you can't access the SharePoint. And this is something I mentioned earlier on, that we're constantly adding new members. We get help tickets every day. And so when external members want to join our WISE community, they get placed on an add me list, right? Like there's just a listing that our IT department has, and they recognize you as an external person from DPI, outside of DPI. And then on Tuesdays at around 3 o'clock, then that whole list of everybody that has been added over the past 7 days gets uploaded, and then you'll get full access. So if you only have partial access, if you join today, you should get access like almost immediately after the user group is done. And that's kind of why we did that Tuesdays at 3 p.m. Because we do get a large batch of people adding during the user groups. And if you join tomorrow or Thursday or Friday, you'll have to wait until next week, Tuesday, to get that full access. And then the last, troubleshooting, isn't really a big deal. It's something I think I'll come back to next time. It just has to do with different browsers and how Microsoft plays nice with Microsoft, but Microsoft doesn't always play nice with Google. So that is my rapid speed Teams introduction training. If there are other specific things that you want information on, please let us know. This Teams group is for all of us, and so it has to work for all of us. And we are happy to provide you with any kind of training that you might need.